Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Every Day is Friday 365. I'm your host, Matthew, and remember to subscribe so you can join me on this journey where every day is Friday. Today, I have a really special guest joining us, Willie Macc. He's an amazing comedian, super funny and talented. You've probably seen him on TV and commercials. He's all over the internet. Willie Macc, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, what's up with you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. What your line of work is, I've interviewed a couple comedians now and, actors and stuff like that. That's what your world is. And
Mhm.
it's amazing how some people are born to make others laugh. I want to know, like, when did you first know you were funny?
Wow. Um, it's an interesting development of funny because growing up it was called acting up. It was called like, why are you so silly? So I was born in Arkansas. I was raised in St. Louis. My dad's a pastor. And so we're kind of taught you go to school, you get your degree, you get a job, start a family, and you teach them to do the same thing. But I always saw the world a little bit differently. Like as the furthest back that I can remember was second grade. I remember getting in trouble in class because I used to act like my hand was alive on the desk. So like my hand would just sit there and just be like crawling across the desk, and I'd be like fighting my hand. I'm like, stop, you're gonna get us in trouble. And then my hand would be fighting me and all this other stuff. And the teacher is like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, it's funny. Everything I did was to get a laugh. Like I remember when I was younger, I'd just be messing with my little brothers and I'll just get behind them and I'll pull my lips out and I'll be like, me. I was just always doing something. My dad would be like, why are you acting so silly? And then there's times I would get in trouble and just all of that. So I've been funny a long time. It just wasn't called being funny. It was just called the other things. Um, but it became more of like, oh, this is a thing that I can do when I moved out here. Now, I moved to California in 2004. I moved out here not to be in this entertainment industry at all. I moved out here because I was chasing a girl that I thought I was in love with at the time. And she came out here because she wanted to be a model because she modeled all over St. Louis. And she's like, I'm gonna take my take my career to LA. And so being the in love Willie that I am, I moved here with her. And she ends up finding out that being a model in St. Louis is completely different than being a model in LA. Two different models. So I needed money and I did background work. For those that don't know what background work is, the people that walk around in the background of movies and television shows, it's awful pay. It's like you'll be working you'll get $56 per 8 hours you would do. And but I needed the money, so I did it. And I ended up doing work on the Bernie Mac show. Now, at this time, Bernie Mac was sick, and my one day of work that I supposed to have been on set ended up turning to like 4 or 5 days. And one of these days that I was there, Kalita Smith, who played Bernie Mac's wife, she saw me, and I used to have this really big afro back in the day, and she was like, "Excuse, where are you from? You look so country." And I was like, "Oh, I'm from St. Louis." She's like, "Oh, really? What part?" My assistant's from St. Louis. So she gets her assistant, and her assistant was like, "Oh, yeah, I went to Hazelwood Central." I'm like, "Oh, I went to Hazelwood Central." She like, "Frank Smith is still the principal?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we had this conversation, and as we're talking, Bernie Mac comes out of his dressing room and is like, "Who's this melted milk dud y'all talking to?" And from there, I went down this Bernie Mac rabbit hole, and I was just watching him, and I was like, "Oh, wow. This is something that I've always been doing. I just didn't know what it was called." You mean the funnier you are, the goofier you are, the more stories that you create, the more money you can make. I'm like, I found my lane. So because of I was so inspired by Bernie Mac, I changed my name from Willie McMiller to Willie Mac based off my interaction with Bernie Mac. and I've been doing a variation of comedy and stand-up and all of that ever since.
And you started acting before the comedy.
I started acting before the comedy. I started stand-up in 2008, 2009, and I started acting in, like, 2006.
And you became famous on a reality TV show. That's when you first became famous on College Hill, Virgin Islands.
College Hill. Wow, those were some good times.
You
That
still had the afro then.
I still had the afro then. It's interesting how I got on there. Once again, needing money, I end up being going on Craigslist looking for little acting gigs.
Really?
And I find this show. It never aired, but it was called So You Want to Date My Sister. And the show was about it was these three guys who competed to date somebody's sister, and the brothers had these challenges and all this other stuff. And when I came out here to LA, I felt freer to be the person that I just wanted to be, because I didn't have that thing about my parents like, no, stop that, what are you doing, no, you can't. It was just like I said, back home it was just church and school and work. That's all it was. So I was goofy, whatever. And the guy who created this show, his name was Michael McQuan. He was like, "You're a really funny dude. I'm an executive producer of this show called College Hill, and I think you'll be very great for it." His sister was Tracy Edmonds, and he's like, "If you can make Tracy laugh, you'll be pretty much good to go on this show." So at this time, Tracy Edmonds was dating or was like engaged to Eddie Murphy. So I in this audition with her, I was full Eddie. I was the loud, boisterous. I was doing everything that I needed to do, and I ended up getting the series. But I don't know. I don't know how true this part is. But the rumor around how I got onto College Hill was because they was actually wanting to do. They wanted to cast this other guy who was part of the LGBTQ community, but then they were like, we're going to the Caribbean and it might not be the best look. So they ended up not going that direction. And they end up going with me, which is probably one of the best decisions they've ever made, because I end up becoming like a fan favorite. And for those that don't know what College Hill is, it's the BET version of The Real World. And so that show really changed my life. It really changed my dynamic of who I became, and it's really part of my origin story. So yeah, College Hill.
It takes a lot of courage to let cameras follow you around for like 24 hours a day on an island.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you always had to like put on like a show for the cameras?
I did, but I was always a show. I was like, there was a lot of my cast members that did not like being on camera all the time. Like, it sounded cool in theory, but you don't understand that you had no privacy. We filmed for, I think it was like 3 months or so many months down there, and there was always a cameraman on us. If you was in the room, there was always cameras in the room. There were microphones in the pillows just in case you tried to whisper something.
Wow.
And you had zero privacy, and then it came to a point where you was trying to escape the camera. So I remember there was times we would like sneak off, and then we found out there was tracking devices in our microphones, because they made us wear our microphones and stuff to school. And so, because we was wondering, like, we would just sneak off somewhere, and then like all of a sudden the cameras would come. We were like, how'd y'all know we was here? And then it was like, oh, there's microphones in there's trackers in our microphone. So that was very interesting. But for me, again, I enjoy being on camera. My life has always been a variation of spectacle because I'm a preacher's kid. So everybody's always been watching me. Every time I messed up, it was like, Robert did this, Willie did this, and so my life has always been that, and I don't mind entertaining. I like to entertain. I don't know if you believe in signs or if you're watching, if you believe in signs. I'm a Leo. And they always say that Leos are very boisterous. They're always entertainers and all of that. And I'm every bit of whatever that zodiac says I am.
You know, in 2008, you actually landed a big role in a big studio comedy movie called Meet the Spartans. Can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that? I mean, what was that stepping on that stage?
Meet the Spartans was a very unique experience because this is the very first project, one of the first projects I booked. And flew me down to New Orleans, and this is where I meet Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish was in that movie as well. And yeah, it was cool. It was I made Tiffany got me my very first stand-up gig. She was performing, I think it was like a Harris Casino down there in New Orleans, and she got me some time. I did really bad, man. It was all it was awful. But the cool thing about Tiffany, even in this, so while I was down there, now this is so bad, but also this is just what it is. So me and Tiffany went out to breakfast one, I think it was like the day we were supposed to fly back out to here, and I ate some fresh blueberries. Now, apparently, this is the very first time I've ever had fresh blueberries that I can think of, because I broke out in hives, and it was just like I had the worst allergic reaction to these blueberries. And Tiff, she took care of me. She went to the CVS or the pharmacy down there, got me Benadryl, and she flew with me to LA, and she just really looked out for me on there. But the interesting thing about the Meet the Spartans that I find out later, that a lot of the scenes with Carmen Electra, she was green screened in, because I guess what they said was that she didn't want to be on set with us. So a lot of her scenes was green screened in, and yeah. But Meet the Spartans was cool. I still get little residual checks from that to this day.
Yeah, I mean, like, who was like the absolute funniest person that on the movie set that you can't you just will never forget?
It was probably Tiffany. Tiffany was she's sharp, she's smart, she's funny. She A lot of the lines that the line that she did, because she did multiple lines, even though they edited so many of them in there. But she a lot of her stuff was improv. She came up with those ideas and those jokes and all of that. Kevin Sorbo was funny. Kevin Sorbo was just like, he's Tim Duncan funny. Like, he just got the rhythm. He's been doing it a while, and it's just him. I can't think of the heavier set guy's name, the guy that was right alongside Kevin Sorbo in that movie, but he was pretty funny as well. But after my couple of days of shooting, I end up flying back to LA, and yeah.
Now, do directors let you do improv and make your own jokes?
Sometimes. Now, if it was me now, then I would be more free to have said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or, "Hey, could I do these lines?" Young Willie, because like I said, this was my first movie role, was very nervous, and I was just like, "All right, I'm just gonna do the line that they gave me. Your mama, I forget what it was. Your mama's so fat when she bleed, Kool-Aid comes out," or something like that. I said, and so I just stuck to my line. And me now, I probably would have said, "Hey, can I say these? Can I do this?" I would have probably had a little bit more freedom to ask more.
Now, do you do you like the indie movies that you filmed or the big ticket movies?
Hmm. The big ticket movies are always nice because you get more money, you get residuals, you get the trailer, you get the flown first class, you get all of that. But the indie movies are fun because you get to really know people. You really get to like you become friends with the director. Like I did this movie and there's a story to it, and it was called Sympathy for Delicious. It was Mark Ruffalo's debut, directorial debut. Now, the crazy thing about this movie, so I auditioned for one of the lead roles. It was about this band and the lead singer was able to heal everybody but himself. He was disabled and whatever, but his music was able to heal people. Now, I auditioned for the drummer in this band. It was gonna be him. Who else was in it? Juliette Lewis and Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom played one of the lead singers and the guitarist. Same with Juliette Lewis. She was like the pianist or whatever. So end up booking this movie. Now they wanted me to really play like rock and roll drum style stuff. And I was like, uh-oh. I'm like, when do we film? And it was like, we start filming in like a couple weeks. I hired a drum coach and all of this stuff, and I couldn't get all of that down packed. But the way that let me back up. The way I even booked that movie was interesting. Like, sure, I did a great job on the audition. So one day I was at this grocery store while I was auditioning for this role. And I went to the grocery store and this lady was like kind of like struggling with her bags or something like that. And I said, "Oh, let me help you with your bags. Take them to the car and all this other stuff." So she's like, "Oh yeah, thank you." So I take the bags to the car, whatever, good day, have a good one, whatever. So never thought about it again. So I'm at the wrap party of this movie and I see the lady. She's like, "Oh, hey, Willie, I'm so glad to see that you was in the movie and blah, blah, blah." I said, "Hey, yeah." She's like, I'm Mark's wife." I was like, "Oh." She said, when I was watching the audition tapes with Mark, I told him, I was like, "Oh, that's the guy that helped me with my groceries." And I was like, "What?" That little moment of helping this lady with her groceries is also the same reason that I end up possibly in this movie, and not even possibly, ended up in this movie because of that interaction. But I wasn't able to do the drum roll anyways, so they end up casting somebody else for the drummer part of that movie, and they gave me like this other fan line of like I was a guy in the audience watching them play, and I was like, oh, how interesting life is.
I was gonna say, do you ever like forget about all the roles you played? I mean, you played in the ABC show like the
Yeah,
Goldbergs. Uh, you've been on like the HGTV home show. Like you've been
yeah.
on so many different types of things. It's like it's kind of mind blowing just to think about it. It's like wow, and you've even been like commercials like for Verizon and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Correct? I
Yeah.
mean, what do you sit back and just look at like everything you've done and go, wow, this is pretty impressive.
Only when someone talks about it.
Really?
Sometimes I have to remind myself of how far I've come because sometimes, it's kind of like the stock market. Let's say you start off here and you're doing this and it goes up and down. And so in your down moments, all you can think about is it going to this resistant or not resistance line, but the support line. It's like, you're like, "Oh, I broke my 1 hour, 4 hour." I'm like, "Where is this?" But then when you take a real step back, you look back and you're like, "Oh, actually started off here. I'm really up here, even though it might be right here. I'm way further than I've been, and the experiences and the people that I've met. I was at a party back in 2009 where I meet Janet Jackson, and I remember this, and it's one of my fun moments because I was like, I saw her at this party. It was a Nick Cannon party, and Jermaine Dupri was DJing. Now, her and Jermaine Dupri were together at the time. Now, Jermaine's people was like, "Hey, Willie, come on to this thing that he's doing." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I go, and I see Janet Jackson, and I was like, "Oh, wow, she's by herself," or so I thought. And so I'm like, I want to go get a picture with Janet Jackson. So I went over there to go say hi. I said, "Hey, Janet." And all of a sudden, her handlers came out of nowhere. It was like 5 handlers. she's not taking pictures. Get away from her. Stop talking. She's not down. And she was like, no, 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 no. It's cool. That's Willie. And I got a picture with Janet Jackson based off of that. She knew who I was, and it was interesting to people that know who I am. Like I was at an awards show, and I run into Beyonce backstage, and she didn't really know my name, but she knew College Hill. She was like, College Hill? And I was like, Beyonce, Beyonce, Destiny's Child, and that. And then I remember a time where I was at this film festival, and I see Robert Townsend. Robert Townsend is probably one of the people that I really look up to. Just his career, his body of work, the stuff that he's done. And he came up to me and said, "Hey, Willie Macc," and I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Is it cool if my daughters take a picture with you?" What? Yeah. If your daughters ask me to go sock that person in the jaw, I will do it. Like, you're Robert Townsend, of course. And so you don't think, I don't think about these experiences often until someone like how you're asking me or talking to me about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I actually did do that and that and that. Yeah, I've done a lot. So yeah,
I mean, you were even a guest star on Nickelodeon, for a kids show.
yeah, Henry Danger.
Yeah. I
Henry,
mean, that's just so cool.
yeah, Henry Danger was fun. He's a comic as well. The guy that the main guy that in Henry Danger, and yeah, yeah. So that was easy money too. That was like you was on set for like an hour, and then it was like, all right, thank you all, and I still get residual checks off that as well.
Now, what kind of TV shows do you love making the most?
Whew, I like comedy. Comedy is my baby, but I like realistic comedy. I like the dramedy, as they call it. Like it's set in. I'm not necessarily like big boisterous comedy, but I like the subtle comedy. Like when you think of like an Atlanta, when you think about like some of those single camera shows that are like that. My dream though is to have the Willie Mac show. I want the Willie Mac show to be like the millennial version of the Bernie Mac show. And I've written it. I've almost sold it twice, and it hasn't happened, but it will. It just hasn't happened yet. And I've had to learn to kind of fall in love with the journey than the actual goal. Because will you hit the goal? I don't know. I was talking to my son on a couple weeks ago, and I posted this, and it's one of these videos that have gone viral where he was talking about how the past and the future scare him. And that's why he's so locked into the present. And I was like, what? He's like, the past is gone. Like I will never be that person in the past again. So what am I even doing thinking about it? And the future is unpredictable. You can't choose, and it's so unpredictable that somebody else is in such a. I have autism, so I'm saying it in an autistic way. Is like in this variable or this algorithm of life, like somebody else's variables can mess up your formula. Like something you do, Matthew, can then do something to my algorithm. I'm like, but that had nothing to do with me. And it's like, well, it does now. It's like, oh my goodness, but I planned for this. And it's like, life is like, it's like, what? But then you learn that everything, if you take if you take your time with it, if you really assess it and really just like absorb what you can, especially in the present, that can still be part of your story. When I had my kid as a teenager was one of the most scariest things I could ever do. I had to go and tell my pastor dad that there's a kid coming. You can't tell me nothing about that. Now I have a special coming out in June called Good Dad, Bad Father. And in July, it will be on Amazon Prime based off of a situation that happened decades ago that I thought was the end of the world then. And so I'm starting to kind of look back at some of these stories and just really just like absorb, like even when I'm mad, even when I'm like mad at a situation or like I'm like, this is not the most optimal ideal for me, but there's something that I should probably take from this that I can probably use for later. I have a tattoo on my arm that you can't really read, but it says, "Life is a tragedy for those who feel and a comedy for those who think." Life is about perspectives. What do you do with these situations that life gives you? You gonna sit there and cry about it all day? You gonna sit here and whine and complain? Or are you gonna do something about it? Are you gonna take something from that moment? So I've kind of learned to, and it's pretty much saying, just, it's up to you. What are you gonna do? Yeah, sure. Life gave you those. Now what?
Really, I gotta ask you, with all your years of experience being an actor, can you dive and unpack this for me? How is it being an actor as you age?
Hmm. I'm gonna answer this I'm gonna try to not sum it up, but put it in so many my experience. So I'm not where I want to be, but I've done a lot. A lot of my friends are now multimillionaires, got houses in the Hollywood Hills. And it wasn't until my son told me, he was like, "Dad, you let Hollywood change you." And I said, "What?" He's like, "Because you're not where you feel that you should be, you've become a little bit more jaded. You became a little bit more angry. You became a little bit, not like angry like girl, but just like, like it's." And so I was like, "Oh man, I never even noticed that I was feeling like that." It's in an awful example. It's like kind of like having having a booger in your nose and ain't nobody tell you until now. He's like, "What? There's something in my nose?" I'm like, "Yeah, something." Like, "How long has something been in my nose?" Years. It's like years. So it has developed me like that, but also as a male in this industry, and I believe and know that because as I get older, I become more mature and I don't age out of the industry as much as maybe a female would. And I will end up, even in 10, 15 years, even when I gray out, then I get called the silver fox. I get people like to compare me to Sterling K. Brown. They're like, "Man, you look like Sterling K. Brown." And just so I am excited that I'm getting older in this industry. And as you get older, a lot of people that you kind of started with start to weed out. Maybe they got families now. Maybe they didn't get as far as they wanted. So they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna get a regular job." So people start to weed out and there's less people, less competition in some of these roles in these areas. And thankfully for me as well, I don't just act, I do stand up. So because I do stand up as well, I'm not necessarily relying on acting. I'm not the person that's taking acting classes every week and just for years, because my real baby is stand up. I love traveling the world doing stand up. I love going city to city. I love meeting new people. I love watching different people from different cities and different religions and different beliefs and different ideologies and cultures that are laughing uniformly. I mean, I know that's not a word, but just like I did that. I brought y'all here and y'all have all laughed at the thing that I said, and that's pretty amazing.
I laughed at your stand up, because picking out the perfect frames for your glasses is a great way to show your unique style.
Yes. So the glasses bit came from an actual experience. I was talking to a casting director one time, and this casting director was like, "Hey Willie, you have a great look, you have a great smile, blah blah blah." He's like, "But if you want to book more, this is commercially. If you want to book more commercially, maybe take the baritone out your voice, maybe talk a little bit faster, and put some glasses on." Now, I remember laughing because it was in a commercial acting commercial acting class. I remember making a little slight joke of like, "Oh, what, you want me to act white?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You got to understand, Willie, all the directors are white, all the production companies, the ad agencies, the clients. So when they're reading these copies and these scripts of like, Coca-Cola, they hear their voice because they've been listening to them. They don't necessarily hear, Coca-Cola. That's like, oh man, that's not gonna appeal to. And so that's how that joke developed. Where I was like, I wear glasses because glasses make me look safe. And that was my way of it was almost like one thing that's cool about stand-up, stand-up can be very passive aggressive. Like the stuff that you might be dealing with, you can take it on stage and get a laugh from it and hide it behind a LOL. Like, you know how people be like, man, you smell funny. LOL. Like, it's kinda like that. You get into it with you hear a lot of stand-up comedians talk about how hard marriage is. They might not say that exactly to their wife, but when they say it, don't say like, "Oh my goodness, my wife did this, and that." Ha 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 ha. See, it was just a joke, baby. It was just a joke. And so I use stand-up as my way of expressing a lot of my real emotions. If you think about it, most comedy is just rage expressed in a expressed in humor. You listen to the George Carlins, you listen to the Richard Pryors, you listen to the Dave Chappelles. If you take away the ha ha ha's in it, they're talking about some really deep, dark stuff. They're talking about some really political stuff. They're talking about some real, probably divisive stuff. But because we're laughing at it and people are paying for it, and now they're making millions a year through it, it doesn't feel as bad. So I use stand up as that as well. It's most comedians' way of us releasing this trauma that we've been holding on to.
You know, I love your skit because there was this one you went to Utah and you're like, yeah, I'm the only black guy here, and there's no one ever seen a black guy before. And you're like making fun of all the people. There's like it's a full room of white people, and I was like, that's you make the atmosphere, you make it fun.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to call out the obvious. And I only said it because I was told by somebody that was like, oh, I was like, man, why is everybody looking at me? And they was like, you're probably the first black person these people have seen. I'm like, the first? I'm like, these are teenagers. They're like, you're in Utah, Willie. And I was like, what? This is crazy. I was like, I'm the first? And so
I'm gonna ask you, like, what is the best part of being a comedian today?
Mm. The best part of being a comedian, especially today, as you're noticing, AI is taking over everything. AI is taking a bunch of jobs. AI is taking over writing gigs. It's going to take over Hollywood in like we probably got like 3 more, maybe 5 good years left before you're really not going to need a lot of people. Like when you see like the Bruce Willis sign that big hundreds of $1 million deal for his likeness to be used by the studios. You seeing these actors selling their voice and their whatever, and so that they can always forever be in movies. And it's like, dang. So the cool thing about stand up is it's live. As much as we love AI, as much as we love our phones, as much as we love social media and the internet, there's going to be a need for live entertainment. And so stand up is that live entertainment that people will come to see, especially if you have a voice, if you have a perspective, if you have a niche. So my niche is the dad role. I'm a young dad, and I'm talking about fatherhood, and I'm a single father, and I am on the spectrum as well. So now people are coming to hear that dynamic versus it just to be like, oh, he said something funny, because you can watch people on TV. You can watch Netflix and see somebody funny. You can watch somebody. You can watch thousands and tens of thousands of hours of funny. But why now? What do I need to say to make you come out and be like, Willie Mack's in town? Let's go see him. Versus back in this, when stand up 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, blah, 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 where you didn't have the devices. You didn't have, all you had was live entertainment. Not all, but you know what I mean, especially stand-up wise. So that's probably what I really enjoy about it most. It's like it's the last of the Mohicans in the entertainment world, as of sorts.
I love how you have such a close bond with your son.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do with your son, Malcolm?
Huh. Sit there and do nothing.
He's pretty wise.
He's so wise. I look at him sometimes and I'm like, it's hard to believe you came out of me. I talk about it in my stand up now where I just say something where it's on the verge of like I look at my son sometimes, I'm like, what a difference 5 seconds makes. 5 seconds changed my life. Like it only lasted 5 seconds, Matthew. And I created a human. I created a human and then he develops and he gets older and now he's talking about these things. It almost feels I don't do you know who Alan Watts is?
I do.
He sounds so Alan Watts-esque, where his examples and his yeah, some people are out here colorblind. He called people colorblind. I can sit here and look at this leaf just blow in the wind and just appreciate God through it because he's like, I will never experience this leaf blowing through the wind again. And I'm like, who are you? At your age, I was out there doing the most, but I was also on TV and raising a kid. So I am just beyond impressed by the things that he thinks and he does and he sees. He does music. He's in college, and it feels good to be able to give him an experience that I don't know if I really wanna say I wish I had, but I wish I had. Like, I wish I had that as a dad, but I'm also thankful for my experiences because I learned even from the way that I was brought up, the way that my dad was very strict, and I bring to him a variation of that strictness, and he sees what that strictness has done to me, and I'm telling him, I'm like, "Be you, be authentically you. It don't matter who." I'm like, "You don't need to try to even please everybody," and that's something that I try to even talk about even in my stand up or just like portraying my stand up. I'm like, it's impossible to please everybody. If everybody don't laugh at me, I I don't care because there's people that don't think Dave Chappelle's funny. There's people like Kevin Hart's, he's not even close to funny. People don't like George Carlin, don't like Jerry Seinfeld. These people that we deem as the greatest of greats, and they don't think that they're funny. Oh, who am I? Who am I to sit here and try to sit there and try to make you laugh if you didn't like them? Then, in a humorous way, it's like there's people that didn't like Jesus, and he saved people's souls from hell, and it's like you didn't like him either. I'm like, oh, it's impossible to please everybody. Well, I'm not even gonna try to. So every time I perform and I say it, I'm like, if I can just get 6, 7, maybe 10 people per show, and every time I come to this city, I get 6, 7, 10 more people, eventually I'll have my group. And that's all that really matters.
I have to ask you, did your son ever ask you, did you mean to have me?
Yeah. That's a video that I posted a video recently of him asking me that. He was like, "Did you mean to have me?" And I said, "You see how young I am and how old you are. Like you was an accident. Like, 100%. You was a oops baby." But then I told him, I'm like, "But most of us are oops babies." Like, sure, age is a huge factor because he's even said he's like I couldn't do it if I were you. Oh, he calls me old. He's like I couldn't do it if I were you. He was like, and you did it before you was 21, so you couldn't drink or anything. You was raising kids sober.
I gotta ask you, how does he feel about the jokes you make about him?
I've asked him about that as well because one of the things that was important for me, I was like, if I ever say something that makes you feel uncomfortable or if there's anything that I do, let me know. I might still do it, but I like to know where you stand in it. No, seriously, but I did ask him that, and he was just like, he's like, I don't care. He's like, I know what you're doing. I know this is your life. This is your career. and it's also your experience. So he's cool with everything. He comes to a lot of my shows, like, and he hears me talk about him. He hears me talk about his mom. He might not necessarily be like the biggest fan of it, but he respects it. It's kind of like, you know how people are giving Kevin Hart a lot of flack for the Kevin Hart roast because of like what Shane Gillis said or Tony Hinchcliffe said. And then Kevin Hart is like, listen, I know what I signed up for. Two, I know who they are and their material, and there's a mutual respect and love for all of them, no matter what they said or how it makes you all feel. And my son pretty much says the same thing. Even though I'm up there talking about him, I might be roasting him or whatever, he respects it. And he sees how my creativity works. And yeah, so yeah.
Does he ever give you any ideas for a comedy show?
Most of my stuff is based on him. So he's the idea. Every time he does something, I'll end up writing something down. Let me see if I can, like I have a notes part of my phone where like it said you can't really read it, but it says Malcolm, and I'll just write down little things that he does. I'm like, he'll be like, "Ooh," like he'll say something. I'm like, that's going into the Malcolm folder. He'll do something. I'm like, what did you do, Malcolm? I did this. I'm like, going into the Malcolm folder. I'm like, can y'all believe my son? But I also talk about myself. I also talk about, as you know, my grandma. I talk about a lot of things, and now I'm talking about my dad. I'm talking about that because that's the next evolution. And that was the biggest, scariest thing for me because I was always scared to talk about him, about the church, about that, because it's a no-no. You're not supposed to talk about your parents. You're not supposed to talk about how you might have been brought up in the church and all these other things. I'm like, but there's so much material in it, even though it is a no-no. And it's like, so now I'm learning to shed those indoctrinations and those ideologies so that I can, because I'm like, who are you at your core, Willie, before everybody told you who you should be and what you should be and what you should do and who you, and all of those things. Like, cause, and it kind of stemmed from a question that I asked my dad. My dad's a very smart guy. And we was watching this documentary about this endangered indigenous tribe that was in like South America. And I said, hey, where do they go when they die? Like they didn't, are you religious, Matt?
I am.
Okay. So, we're taught you give your life to the Lord, you ask for forgiveness and all these other things. And I was like, they didn't go to no church. They didn't go ask for forgiveness anywhere. They don't even speak English. They just really making just sounds. And he was like, oh, they don't go to heaven. I'm like, they don't go to heaven. He's like, they didn't give their life to the Lord. I'm like, but they didn't even know. And he was like, yeah, but the Bible says everybody gets a chance to know him. I'm like, Dad, they just found them. They just look. I'm like, and it was a back and forth that we had. And then I heard a quote that nobody ever quotes from Jimmy Carter that said it wasn't, because I think he grew up like Southern Baptist or something like that. And he said it wasn't until he became president and traveled the world that he realized that all roads lead to God, to heaven. He just chooses the way by the Father. And I was like, that makes more sense to me than just, they go to hell. I'm like, they go to hell? Like, yeah. And I was like, because I went through a whole different, different cultures and religions. I'm like, what about those people over there? They going too. I'm like, but Dad, they don't even have Christianity over there. Like they out there. He's like, yep, them too. I'm like, so, and I remember making the comment to him. I was like, so everybody that's in heaven is just everybody at our church? I'm like, 'cause that's what it sounds like. I'm like, you know, I kind of like blasphemously said, like, if that's the case, I don't even want to go to heaven. Then if it's just everybody at Brotherly Love Christian Assembly, because it's like I know y'all. I was like, yeah, y'all don't be with y'all for eternity. And so, yeah, so that was one of the first things that really kind of hit me. Till I was like, all right, Willie, what's true to you? What makes you feel better? Because if you're not living your life for you and you're just living your life to please your parents, what fun is that? That's you mean my whole life is just to make sure that they okay? And so that's what I developed with my son to where he's able to talk to me about anything. But I'm like, I don't care what you believe, Malcolm. I'm gonna tell you what I believe. I still believe in God. I'm not saying I'm not being like anti God or anything, but it's just like, what is it that you believe, Malcolm? What feels right to you? Which is why he talks about God all the time. He's like he smokes weed and he's like when I'm high, I believe in God even more because it focuses his brain to only be so much more present. He's like, you telling me God made all of this? This breeze that we feel on our face? It's just like, and he's so spiritual and it's beautiful. He has Bible study with his friends. I remember he told me, he was like, yeah, I got to get out of here. I'm about to go have Bible study with my friends. I was like, what you mean you about to have Bible study with your friends? Cause I know his friends. I'm like, what you mean you about to have Bible study with them? He's like, I make them go get a Bible and we sit there and we read scriptures together. And I'm like, who are you? You came out of me. I said, all right. So yeah, that's him. That's him.
You know, there's something I like to say, Willie, on the podcast. It's like what you are is God's gift to you, and what you do with it is your gift to God. And he's
Mhm.
doing that exactly.
I like that. That's so true. Like, and like I said, it took me a while to learn that though. Exactly what you're saying. Cause like I said, I was so stuck on pleasing my parents and pleasing the church that I didn't even think about the me and what pretty much my gifts that I was given. And that's why I'm even excited to see Malcolm do what he's doing because he's learning that in his early 20s versus where I didn't learn it till like my late 30s. And now I'm like, dang. But again, I needed to learn whatever lessons. There's no bad timing. There's no wrong. There's just different. If you going down these two roads and you decide to go this one, you got two more roads. You got two more roads. You just get, and life, there is no, like, whatever I do just adds to the story of either me to somebody else to whatever. And that's why you just got to appreciate it. And that's one of the things that I really want to push even in my stand up and make people think and to feel good. And then you just notice like I had people come and cry to me after shows and be like, I didn't know that I needed this. I had people, it's like my XYZ just passed away last week and my friends were forcing me out the house and I didn't want to get out the house. And then I come and I see you and you talk about the things you talk about. Like, I know you did a deep dive on me. So, like my daughter passed away at 17. So I talk about that in my stand up. I talk about just a lot of these experiences that I've gone through. And people are like, how do you keep going, Willie? I'm like, because I have to. I don't have no other choice. And even if my choices ain't the most optimal choice, I just know that I'm gonna get another choice eventually. And life's too beautiful to skip out on every experience, even if it's a quote unquote negative one. Hold on to those. So those stories make you. Those stories are the ones that people are gonna tell way longer than just Willie was funny. I'm not just funny. I'm somebody that you want to see, that you feel like you need to see, that you want to. Because I used to look at my dad when he's as a pastor. I'm like, how do you get these people to come to church every Sunday? For years, for decades, and not just decades and years, but like 3 times a week. These people are, I'm like, how do you grab them? So I use a little bit of what I learned from my dad as a pastor and that experience to what I'm doing in my stand-up. And I'm glad that I'm able to, again, pass it down to my son. So he's using that in his music and his him talking to his friends, and they're passing that down. So it's like, wow, this little 5-second mistake has now changed the dynamic of so many different people.
Yeah, I mean, you're just talking about like the different roads that people can go down, and I mean, you went down a road, and you helped out your 103-year-old grandmother,
Mhm.
and I think that's super cool. And you have it in some of your skits and some of the comedy stuff you have. I want to ask you, like, what is like one of the biggest lessons your grandmother taught you?
I talk about it, and I have some merch on it. It's called "Life Be Lifin'." She just sit
Life
there
be
and say
life.
that. She is like, "Life be lifin', baby," and I'm like, "Oh, this happened." She like, "Life be lifin'. You're not special enough to where life shouldn't happen to you." And that helped me get through even my daughter when she passed away. It was like, how what you thought life should never happen to you? You thought you supposed to be the exclusion. Everybody, life happens to people every single day. When you think about, let's even humor some of the stuff that's going on overseas and stuff. I'm like, you mean one day a building is right there and then the next day it's not? I don't know what it's like to wake up to a missile. Like, shoo. You mean
Mhm.
and now it's gone? I'm like, I don't know what it's like to have these experiences, and these experiences. How dare you think life shouldn't happen to you? Life happened to me. And so that's probably one of the biggest experience or lessons that I've learned from her, is that just life be life. And you just got to keep on going through it. You just got to roll through it. You're not going to give up. I know you want to. I know. And I just be like, she like, I know.
I have to ask you, did your grandmother think you were funny?
No, she was entertained by me. She 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 was one of the people, and I talk about it even now, and like the new stuff that I'm working on. Like I said, we wasn't talking about neurodivergent and ADHD and all this other stuff. She was just like, that boy is special. Something wrong with him.
That's a special kind of love right
It's a
there.
special kind of love. Yeah. So she was there, but she's the reason I was able to grow out my afro. My dad didn't want me to grow out an afro. And so my grandma was like, "Do I need to pull out some old pictures of you and show how you used to have an afro?" And my dad was like, "But it's different. This is my son." She's like, "Robert, you can grow out your afro." And I was like, "Thanks, grandma." And that's how my afro came into fruition.
I don't know if you know who Ben Wallace is, but that's my favorite basketball player of all time, and he had an afro as well.
Ben Wallace. I do know who that is. My son and Ben Wallace's son are best friends.
Really?
My son's best friend is Ben Wallace's son, Bryce. Yep.
What a small world.
What a small world.
I also have to ask you, like, did your grandmother, like, how did she react seeing you on television?
She was happy. It was like I'm paraphrasing, but it was like all that specialness worked out. All those jokes and all of that. I just One of the things that I just kind of wish I was able to do was to bring her to a red carpet. I wish I was able to have been like, "Come on, Grams, and experience this." And so she never was able to. When she got to a certain age, she just went to a nursing home, and I have a joke about her having dementia, but we've known she's had dementia for years, and we just didn't know what it was called. And so, but I do remember one of my few experiences, and she was just like, just really just congratulated me and just was really happy that I was on TV, that I was doing what I wanted to do. And so that meant a lot.
Do you have any advice for kids out there that want to be an actor or a comedian?
Ooh, actor, comedian advice. Yeah, be be true to you. I get people that I know it's hard, and you. I don't want to say you'll never be great, but I'm just going to say it because this is just my wording and I'm not trying to sit here and try to figure out the right wording for everybody. You'll never be who you're going to be if you're trying to please somebody else. I have people that's like, I'm like, man, you need to tell that story. And they're like, I can't because if my parents hear it or if the church hears it, then they'll be mad at me. And I'm like, so you just gonna not do anything with that? I'm like, ah. I'm like, gosh, that gotta be hard. Who are you at your core? If you're going to do it, you gotta do it full throttle. You can't just do it half of it and just like, oh, I just want to do a little bit. Like I get people that ask me about doing stand up all the time. I'm like, oh, where do you stay? Oh, I live in North Dakota. I'm like, leave North Dakota. They're like, there's no way I can be like a comedian here. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, but that's not I don't know North Dakota enough to even give you advice on that. I know you're going to eventually have to leave LA or go to LA, New York, maybe some of these other places, but I don't think my family or whoever would appreciate that. And it's a hard road. It's not, don't put another thing I would tell people, don't put a time limit on it. Some people come out here and be like, oh, 5, 10 years. Then 5, 10 years happen. 15 years happens, and now you became discouraged. If you know anything about our industry, there is no time limit. It's not college. It's not you get 4 years and then you go out there, you trying to be a doctor, you get 11 years. There some people blow up in 5 years, some people blow up in 2 years, some people blow up in 20 years. If you fall in love with the journey, it doesn't matter because you're doing what makes you happy. You're doing what's true and what's honest to you. So be true and honest to yourself. And that's where you also find your voice. That's where you also find your uniqueness. That's what's going to make you special and stand out.
Yeah, it's all about the journey, not the destination, but the personal development throughout the journey at the end of the day.
Exactly. Exactly.
And with you've been in some big star roles. When you achieve those, and then like even for me, like I've hit some plateaus, 100 podcasts, 150 podcasts, the job's not done. You still wake up the next day and you got you go for the next goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You are gonna have to, yeah. And again, kind of repetitively, you have to do what's best for you. If you love podcasting, you don't think about how long you've been podcasting. You don't think about the numbers. If you love stand up, I don't know how many shows I've done. I don't know how many I know I've done a lot, but I love it. I don't know anything else. All I know is how to make people laugh. This is my lane. Do I wish the pay was more consistent? Yeah. Do I wish I was making 100, 2,000, $200,000 a weekend? Yeah. Am I? No. But I love this. I love telling jokes. I love entertaining people. I love making people laugh. I love where stand up has brought me. If it wasn't for stand up, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, Matt. I wouldn't be talking, these people wouldn't be hearing me right now, hearing this story if I would have quit after 5 years, if I would have quit after 10 years or whatever. So,
You
yeah.
have to go chase your dreams because your dreams will not chase you.
Ooh, bars. Yes. They are
I
not.
have to ask you about, we're talking about goals. What is the biggest goal you still want to achieve?
Like I said, I want the Willie Macc show. I want that show. I want that 6, 7th season. I want to be able to just continuously not only tell my story in a sitcom form or yeah, in a TV form, but I also just want to travel the world doing stand up. You're telling me you hear these people making millions of dollars a weekend, and it's not even necessarily about the money for me. I like the money. But I just like the audience. I love seeing the crowds. I love hearing the people laugh, and I love it because it also helps me, and it selfishly helps me. And I've learned for just even myself. You mean the funnier I am, the more validation I get for me personally, and I need that. So my goal is to do stadiums. My goal is to do big theaters, and I want the Willie Mack show. I just want to create. I just want to create and be funny. That's all I want to do, and I want to do it well, and I want to do it comfortably, and I want it to be able to take care of everybody that's in my little circle.
Willie, I gotta ask you, I mean, like, what makes a good story? And then I also want to ask you, how do you make people remember you?
What makes a good story? I tell people the devil is in the details. Tell the details of a story. Don't just be like, "Oh, I was walking down the street." What time was it? Why were you walking down the street? Where were you going? Give me every what were you wearing? Why were you wearing that? What were you expecting once you got to your destination? Because you're getting jokes out of every one of those moments. Like one of the things I learned from like Richard Pryor was Richard Pryor will give inanimate objects voices. Like he's like, do you think a chair sees a fat person about to sit on him, like, "Oh, no, please don't. No, no, no. Oh," and he acts out a chair being sat on, and you're like, "I never even thought to do a thing like that." Oh, okay. So that's that part of it, and the thing that makes you what was the second half of the question? What makes people wanna see you or how
Yeah,
do you work?
yeah. How do you make people remember you?
Well, I the more unique you are, the more instead of just saying, like, I have a kid. Fine, you got a kid. I have a kid that's 24 and I'm 40 or 41 and it's just like the more unique, the more vulnerable you are, the story that's only unique to you, you'll never hear somebody else tell my story about me and Malcolm. They might tell variations of it. There might be other people that have knocked up a lesbian in high school or whatever, but you're not going to hear it the way that I've detailed it. You're not going to hear it from my perspective. And the more vulnerable I am, and the more I tell you how I felt during it and how I experienced it and what my parents said. And people are now, like I said, that's kind of what I was at saying earlier about my dad. Like, how you get people to come to church every Sunday? How you get people to want to come see you every single Sunday for decades? Because it's his perspective, it's how he tells the story, it's how he interprets it. And like I said, I've taken that and put it into my stand up. Yes, I've had probably a lot of the same experiences as as a lot of people, but this is my interpretation. This is how it affected me. And the more vulnerable and the more truthful I am, the more unique I am. And now you want to hear more of that.
I appreciate you passing down that great advice.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I mean, I always ask people, what's the best piece of advice you've ever got?
The best piece of advice I ever got was probably the 2. I'm gonna give you 2 of them. One was this quote that I told you about. Life is a tragedy for those who feel and a comedy for those who think. Like I said, life is about perspectives. What you do with a situation, how you going to handle it. You can either sit there and cry about it and just sit there and just be emotional and nothing gets done, or you can take that experience and find the uniqueness in it. You can find the story in it. You can find that thing that makes it more you. So that's one, and another one is a quote is a scripture in the Bible says, "Do not despise the days of small beginnings." So those days that you feel low, those days that you just like, I'm over it, I'm done. Don't get rid of those days. Those days are going to make you unique. Those are the days that's gonna make your experience, and those are gonna be your story again. Me having a kid as a teenager felt devastating. But at the same time, if I would have just got rid of it, if I would have dismissed it, I would have missed creating these experiences that have now brought me to, like I said, even before, brought me to you. If I'd never talked about these stories about me and my son, we probably would never sit here and have these conversations. So do not despise the days of small beginnings. And life is a tragedy for those who feel and a comedy for those who think.
I mean, practicing gratitude is the best way to live a happy life. I
I
love
do
that.
it every day. Anytime I'm feeling down, I just go through I like, thank you, God, for being able to see. And I just start naming them. Thank you for being able to walk. Yeah, my knees hurt, but someone can't walk at all. Thank you for this light shining on my face because I could have no electricity and there's no light shining on my face. Thank you for this mouse that I have to click on and off. I just go down this just list of everything. And then the more you just like, dang, I still got a million other things to be thankful for. So yeah, practice gratitude.
As you know, Willie, the show is called Every Day is Friday, and I want to know from you, what does Every Day is Friday mean to you?
It's funny that you say that. I tell people every day for me is a weekend because I don't have a 9 to 5. So every day feels like like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday to me anyway. Every day is a Friday means that uh every day Friday to a lot of people is like, oh, I'm finally off work. I get the weekend is here. And it's like, why you can't have that day every day? Why you can't have that feeling every day? Every day is you can sit back and be grateful the same way you're grateful that a Saturday is here. The same way whatever you're doing, that's an internal thing. Your Friday is inside of you. What's your Friday? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Every Day is Friday is about bringing that energy into your everyday life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. Everybody's Friday is different. Everybody has a different experience for Friday. Some people don't want to get off work. Some people don't want to go home from school. My son loves college. So when he's off I mean, not that he still likes being off, but again, his Friday is different than my Friday. What's your Friday like? I like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, every day is Friday. I love it.
And all your information will be in the description down below. If everyone go out there and follow him. And this is your chance to leave the listeners with something powerful. Is there anything else you want to share?
Oh, anything more powerful, y'all's minds might explode. Again, be uniquely you. Look in the mirror. That's what I do. I do that pretty often. I do a little chant to myself. I'm like, you're funny, you're talented, you're creative. Talk to the inner kid in you. Parent that little kid that's inside of you, and tell them that it's okay. And one last thing, and if you're not okay, because I know some people, everybody likes "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm okay, I'm okay." And some people not okay. And it's okay to not be okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So this is life. Life is about experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, the sexy, all of that. So yeah,
Life been lifing, right?
life be life, man.
I really do appreciate you sharing your stories and experiences on the show today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course. Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me a platform to just really talk about all of this and tell these stories. Because a lot of these stories that I'm telling you now, I've never told before. I've done a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, and I like the podcast where I feel very just relaxed. I feel like right now is Friday.
Every day is Friday,
Every day is
everybody.
Friday. It's gonna be Friday
Yes.
tomorrow.
Make sure you share, follow, and keep that Every Day is Friday mindset going. Stay inspired and make every day feel like Friday. Until next time, everybody. Peace.